Can head off to the
We're going. We're live. All right. Well,
dang
we'll
man.
run with it, Isaac.
Yes,
I
sir.
like it. We'll get going. Obviously, the goal is to be in person at some point, and hopefully that be the next one that we get going. But I think the main main idea of the pod is just to try to get it off the ground and just do it as a hobby, right? Just record ourselves talking about the things that we love. So yeah, let's get after it, brother. Formation lab.
100%.
I think
I'm
we're
so
running with
excited.
that. Yeah, dude, this is cool. This is just a hobby. I can't stop smiling about it, bro. So,
No, man, it's gonna be
all
good.
right,
It's gonna
man.
be a good time.
Well, I think maybe obviously as a kickoff, just kind of going into well, I guess maybe what got you into the sport, kind of introducing yourself a little bit like that, and then I can go off and introduce myself, but I'll let you kick it off, brother. You're the sensei when it comes to
No, no,
knowledge,
man.
more than me.
Still a newbie. Um, well, yeah, I'll go ahead and kick it off. So my name is Isaac, and I'm in San Antonio, Texas. I've been, I guess, studying. I've been looking into. I've been becoming a fan of F1 for the past I want to say 3, 4 years. I think it was really COVID, like kind of like sparked it. I was, we were all stuck inside. We were trying to find out what else we can do, what can we watch, and I had never been interested in motorsports. I have no idea why. Um, I am Latino. I'm from Mexico. That's where I was born, Monterrey. Um, and motorsport is, I mean, it's decently big over there. But we came to the U.S. I was very young, and I was never surrounded by anybody that was into motorsports. I lived in Houston for a couple years, and I had some buddies that they were into like motocross, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I just never got excited about it. Nobody showed me what motocross was all about. Um, so I guess I just never gained interest. But then again, during COVID, it just like magically hit me, like the bug hit me, man. And I'm not gonna lie, it caught my attention through Netflix's Drive to Survive. Like, that was a big thing. That's when it kind of when it started getting popular.
Yeah.
I remember a couple years back. I think it's 2, 3 years ago. As just started gaining interest in Formula One, this guy on YouTube, his name is called. He's extremely popular. I don't know how many millions of subscribers he has, but his name is MKBHD, I think, or something like that. He's a great YouTuber. He talks all about tech and stuff. And one of the videos he made like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it just made me want to look deeper into the sport, deeper into like regulations and basically what it's all about. And essentially, what he talked about was how F1 is a giant like science experiment. Like these cars, it's cutting edge, it's new technology that's coming out, and these teams are just trying to go as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So that's really what got me into it. Just the how interesting it is that these teams are all competing against each other, throwing so much money towards coming up with these new I guess car parts, these new wings, just all these new things that you
Yeah.
can add to a vehicle to make it go faster. And a lot of the things that they come up with in Formula One, but they end up getting put or placed into road cars, like the road
Yeah.
cars we see every day. So it's just it's been super interesting. That's kind of how I got into it, and man, I'm a huge fan now. Do I know everything about it? No, but I think the I guess our name, the formation lab
Yeah.
that we kind of just came up with on the spot, is very fitting because the formation lap of a whether it's an F1 race or even like an IndyCar race, whatever it may be, like that's where the drivers are warming up. They're warming up their tires. They're downloading all the necessary information they need. They're getting ready, and I think that's kind of what we're doing. With this podcast, we're going to help others kind of learn more as just as we're learning. We're going to be learning alongside
Yeah.
all these people that may watch us, and it's going to be a great journey. It's going to be super fun, and blessed to get to do it with you, man. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, thanks. No, I was in the middle of a flight coming back, and I was like, you know what, a Formula One podcast, because there's so many random one-off questions I have about the sport, and it's so exciting to be so like newly interested in something all over again. I've kind of talked to you about my interest in the UFC at times,
Yeah.
and just to be there again, and just to be such like like an infant just waiting to like soak up all like the knowledge that you can over the sport is like something that I was like super excited about. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I'm sure you'd be down. I know like every time we're together, we always talk about it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think you're right. I think with the name, we're kind of just warming ourselves up to the sport. And I think the goal is, and I've talked to you about like kind of bigger picture is to try to attract maybe a larger audience, especially here in the States, over this podcast. Not that this sport isn't already popular over here, but every time I'm like going down a rabbit hole, just trying to figure out something about the sport, every single channel it seems like you click on is like, oh, what did Max Verstappen say about this, jolly lad? Like it's just like all, it's
But
all that. It's
yeah.
it's it's funny, but um kind of touching on me, Gustavo, I was born in South Texas, in a town called McAllen. I've lived here in San Antonio for about uh I would say a little 14, 12 years, since 2014. I have been an avid follower of almost just about every single sport that you can think of. I've tried to play it, I've tried to follow it in some professional degree or another. I grew up playing golf, I grew up playing hockey, and those are some of like two of my diehard fan sports that I will ever be a fan of. And big NFL guy too. I think I kind of fallen off over recent years, but the way I got into Formula One was obviously the same reason was the Drive to Survive show on Netflix. Kind of gives everyone, gives you an emotional attachment. I think that's something that you said that as
100%.
Americans, like the cultural audience loves like a story and it loves drama and it loves like
Mm-hmm.
it's basically a dude like what is it? A reality TV show is basically what it is in documentary form. So
100%.
that's exactly how I got into it. And then largely just the big science experiment, like you said, as well. It's just kind of quite interesting to figure out like why is it that, with the same regulations and with the same basically the same opportunity that, a team like Mercedes can go a over the course of a what is it, a 30 lap or 53 lap race, they end up 16 seconds ahead, which is like in racing. My wife was a runner. I mean, and she was talking about like her PRs and stuff like that. She's like, 1 second is like crazy. Like that's like a lot of
Yeah.
time.
100%.
So just to figure out like, wow, like what are they doing and what is going on in their paddock, right? In their garage that, they're doing all these other things. And is it just more minds coming together? Is it because they have more money to spend more minds to put together on these things? So yeah, that's where we are, man. And it's exciting just because, going back to just I have all this questions about things, and I think with that being said, we can jump right in. Isaac, I think I will try to have you lead the way and you can bounce these things off of me. I have all these questions like lined up, but maybe some hot takes in here. First one running in. Why does my dad think that Formula One is for rednecks, brother? What's going on here?
Honestly, I think when you first sent me, the kinds of questions we're going to be going over today,
Yeah.
I saw that one. The immediate reaction, immediate thought was a lot of people that I've talked to. Ever since I became a fan of F1, I've been trying to share my fandom with everybody. I could probably be a little annoying, I know, but a lot of people seem to in the U.S. As soon as you say anything about racing, they're like NASCAR. Like that's their
Yeah.
first thought. And I mean, NASCAR is pretty big in the U.S. Like it's one of the it's probably the biggest motorsport I would say in the U.S. or at least from my perspective.
Hmm.
Um, that's what seems to be the biggest. You're watching Fox. Maybe you're. Uh, I would always see the commercials. When I'm watching Fox, whether it was
Like the
like
Sprint Cup
baseball
series.
or NFL. Like yeah, they would always pop up commercials, or the announcers would be like, "Hey, make sure to catch up on this such and such race."
Yeah.
And I saw that all the time as a kid, but again, I never got into it. But and I'm not gonna lie, like the general population, I think would agree that when somebody thinks of NASCAR, like people have seen commercials about it. I mean, I'm trying to choose my words wisely. I don't want to offend anybody, but
The
there's a
left
lot of
turn.
rednecks. There's
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of
it is.
rednecks. You just turn
Yeah,
left. Ricky
it's
Bobby. What's that movie?
yeah. But Ricky Bobby. I
Talladega
mean,
Nights.
they're
Come
making
on,
fun
man.
of they're making fun of
Yeah,
that population, unfortunately, which is
yeah,
it's true, right? Careful what you say, right?
yeah.
So yeah,
But yeah,
it's
I think maybe
interesting.
that's why.
Yeah, so I think largely the same thing too. And I told my dad, I was like, I don't know, like, why you think that. I mean, I was like, largely, this is the most un-American sport. I think that's part of the reason why we're talking about it. It's like, I don't want to say un-American because that sounds like, oh, what are we talking about? Soccer? Like, no, no. We're like,
Yeah. Mhm.
but we're trying to say like this is like, if anything, it's more European, influence and stuff like that. It's all
No,
about
definitely.
innovation. Not that NASCAR maybe isn't, but that's not their MO. It's just
We should
like,
I don't know the answer. You might know. Again, I don't. We are not like professionals. We don't know everything about the sport yet. We don't know everything about NASCAR, IndyCar, or the other motorsport series. But I wonder how old NASCAR is. I'll have to research that, and because I
yeah,
know IndyCar is older than Formula One, so
is
IndyCar's
it
been around
really?
for a while. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So when I've heard people say, "Oh yeah, F1, it's the original," I'm like, "Are you sure?" I mean, I wonder what the first race ever was. I guess I would have to do some research on that. We'll double check that. Maybe talk about it in the next episode. But I know IndyCar for sure is older. Like and
Because
like
what
the Indy
they're at
500
set
has been happening for a long time.
year 76, right? Because last
Yeah,
year was
F1
75.
exactly. But I think
Um,
IndyCar is way older than that.
NASCAR
Um,
started in 1948.
so
So,
that's newer. Here, I'll pull up my phone. Or
IndyCar,
unless you're doing the research right now.
yeah, I got my producer Chat GPT up. The
I need to do that. That's smart.
first 1909 was one of the first IndyCar races. Most famous event was the Indianapolis 500 in
Yeah.
1911, bro. Before the Titanic, bro.
Yeah.
What? So yeah, that is, well, I mean, that beats uh Formula One by what,
By a while.
44 years?
Yeah.
Ah, I didn't know that. 1950, yeah. I just did the math. I don't know why it was hard for me to do 76. 76 from 1950 flat.
Right.
So interesting. That's a really cool, we're gonna clip that one, baby. We're gonna clip that one for a freaking for a short right there.
And then we're
Uh
learning together, and I'm
yeah,
so excited to learn
that's
from
that.
people in the comments. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, that's cool. For sure. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's the established that they've got, I don't want to say the chokehold on the market, but it's obviously been around longer and stuff like that. But cool. I think I've already touched on like how many of my friends are like crazy MLB NFL fans, yet know absolutely nothing, like nothing about it's like if you ask them about like freaking nuclear science and stuff, man, like they know nothing about it. And it's just the craziest thing ever because they can tell you how many times, you know, Matthew Stafford broke his pinky. Just like random things. Like, yeah, Matthew
Yeah.
Stafford in August, 26th, 2012, he, threw for 514 yards. Like stuff like that. That's how my friends are able to ring things
Yeah,
off.
there's some big fans out there for
And
sure.
when you talk to him about Formula One, like I said, one of my buddies said that don't feel like they're athletes. It doesn't feel like, yeah, there's no attraction there. Doesn't feel like they're actually doing anything. And you told me about, have you ever been pulling those G's? Have you ever been just go-karting? Go-karting is not
Yeah.
that much G-force, but
I
you
mean, it's a good
crazy.
amount. So if you I've seen some interviews apparently with some of the F1 drivers, and a lot of them will say like karting is like the most fundamental like racing series there is. It's true to the name of racing, and they
Yeah.
still do it now. They still do it to stay in tip top shape. Because you are pulling some pretty crazy G's. Like some of these go karts, they go like 100, 120 miles an hour. So it's I wouldn't say like karting is like super easy either, because I've been karting a couple times, and I mean, you get tired, you get sweaty, your heart's pumping. If you get a heart rate monitor, you're like, if I'm running, like if I go on a 10-mile run, I mean, I'm easily going to be hitting like 150, 160, 170, even like more on the higher side. And
Hmm.
I've done it. I've tested my heart rate while I've gone karting, and it's around the same.
That's
And I'm not
crazy.
running, but
You're
it's
just
just
sitting there.
your muscles. You're kind of grabbing that wheel kind of tight. And just the turns, the G forces do affect you. So um, I think that might be a misconception. We can open it up to people in the comments. They can. I'm sure there's a lot more people with tons of karting experience that might be looking at this. But and if you look at it, the way to get to Formula One, a lot of these drivers they start off in karting. Like that's a big one. Like almost every
Yeah.
single one of them started in karting. I would have to
Start
check
there.
to see if another series like IndyCar. I wonder where they start off. I'm assuming it'd be the same.
I'm
Um,
assuming, yeah.
but obviously they have their feeder series like Indy Next or NXT, however you want to call that. And then and yeah, so yeah, I mean that's a good thought, with the karting and then the athletes, but it's definitely workout. If you one thing that just popped into my head was Singapore. I don't know if you've seen like yeah, they even showed in Drive
Hmm.
to Survive. I think one of the last seasons they showed like a Stroll like almost passing out, and then
Yeah.
like and one of them they showed George Russell like he was
Yeah.
like in one of those cold tubs with I think his
Yeah. The
girlfriend
ice
was close
bath.
by,
Yeah.
and he was like hyperventilating, about to pass out. Like
Yeah.
they probably shouldn't have shown that on the series, to be honest, because it's kind of intimate, more personal moment, and he was probably very stressed out and anxious. But yeah, these drivers they're going through it. So I would
Yeah.
uh, I would definitely try and show people those clips maybe of these people, like how much work it is, and even their workouts these guys have to do is insane. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. I think I've seen even, was it like Logan Sargent in Bahrain or in Saudi Arabia? He had to retire just because he felt like crap in the middle of the race. I don't remember
Yeah.
what it was, but it was like one of those Middle East races. But yeah, needless to say, I mean, it is a lot harder than people really put it to be, and yeah, it's tolling on the body, and so yeah, well, I think that's true of the sport, and that's something that I'm guilty of. I think not realizing either. I don't think that was never something that would deter me from being like, a fan of the sport. It was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just it wasn't something that I was really attracted to in the beginning. But
Mhm.
all right. So let's talk about kind of just breaking down some of the simpler things of the sport. And I think these are a lot of curiosity that I had very early on in the sport. And I know maybe somewhat the answer to a lot of things, but this is kind of stuff that I've figured out just kind of going and maybe just kind of doing context clues. Uh,
Yeah.
do you know why the whole sectors? So we have sectors in the lap and they break it down into three sectors. Why do we have sectors in a track? And why are they known as sectors?
Yeah, I mean, as far as why they named them sectors, I mean, I guess that's the word they ended up choosing.
Yeah,
um but
just like sections, right?
yeah, they just use that verbiage and follow through with it. But in regards to why they do that, I've seen it in multiple racing series, like IndyCar. So the viewers are gonna know. They're gonna start realizing I'm gonna talk a lot about IndyCar. I think that's some of the best racing on earth. That's really like their slogan.
Hmm.
When they you're watching on Fox, that's what they're gonna say. And I mean, it's such a fun series. And we're gonna get more into the regulations of this year, and it kind of pushed me to see more of IndyCar because of the current F1 regulations. Like, I think IndyCar allows people to race more. It's more combat, more hustle. So that's why I really like IndyCar, and I've been becoming a fan of them as of recently. But they also have sectors, and really all it comes down to, from my knowledge, from what I've gained from reading and just studying up on the sport, is it makes it easier for the drivers to essentially learn from their mistakes or figure out where they can go faster. Because if you just, if it takes you, I don't know, a minute and 30 seconds to go through one lap, it's harder to, I guess, pinpoint
To
what part of
pinpoint.
the lap you could have gotten better, or you could, shave a couple tenths or even a full second. If you're, you never know at the beginning. You could be a full second off.
It's
Your
true.
your tires aren't warmed up. Etc. But that's really to me all I've noticed as to why they have sectors is just so that teams, team principals, the engineers can look at that. They can study the data. They can go, hey, sector one, the first, you know, half a mile, whatever, is, where most people are driving that in 22 and a half seconds. But
Hmm.
they're when they're going through sector one, they're doing it in 23 and a half. So like a second off. So I think that's really the only reason why they have sectors, just to help the drivers, help the teams get better, improve on their time, on their lap time.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you say that just because I never really made that connection. I uh funnily enough, like as you started saying, like being able to like pinpoint where those improvements can be made and etc. I actually had like a little racing app on my phone that I was like obsessed with for a while, and every time I would screw up the lap, I would redo it. And I tell you, it was on Coda, Circuit of the Americas. And every time I would screw it up, I would redo it, redo it, redo it. I got
Mm-hmm.
so darn good at Sector 1 at Coda, bro. Like, I was literally like flawless. Like, especially basically that first hairpin into Coda up the hill.
Yeah,
I
turn
mean,
one. Yeah,
just yeah, turn
it's a
one, just
massive
going
hill.
in. Oh, dude, it's such a like that is so entertaining to like realize how iconic that turn one is
Yeah, man.
in like to be Coda with what is it, Big Red, the big American flag at the top of the
Oh
hill.
yeah,
Like,
there's
dude,
tons of
it's
images of
just,
that.
dude,
It's
it's
so cool.
so
It's
cool to
epic.
me. It is
Mhm.
literally, I think it is epic, and I think that this is why they extended the Coda contract, I think last year, right? Up until another 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, and honestly,
So
man, I know we're kind of getting off topic with that, but I see this Coda is going to stay for a while because Coda is actually the only like F1 purpose built track in the entire USA. If you think
I didn't
about it,
know it was
Miami,
purposely. Oh, I didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah, I don't know when it was, but I think it was like in 2012, 2013. I may be wrong. Again, we're not, I don't know everything. I don't have a computer in front of me. Like I'm not looking stuff up. But I think it was like 2012, 2013 when it got made or created. I might be wrong. I don't know if you want to
20
check it out real quick.
track completed in 2012.
Nope,
First
I was
major
close.
event was F1 Grand Prix in November of 2012. Wow.
Yeah. So it was like specifically made for it. And the other two tracks, I mean, Miami is, it's not a,
It's a street
like, it's
circuit,
not
right?
there. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess you could call it street because they're literally in the parking lot, I think,
Is it like,
of,
yeah, I was gonna
of the
say, it
Miami
doesn't look like a
Dolphin Stadium,
street.
Hard Rock
Yeah,
Stadium.
Hard Rock, yeah.
Yeah. So they just build it, and then they have to take it down afterwards. Same thing with Las Vegas. That's just the pure street track. It's literally down the street, Las Vegas. I've never been there. I know you have. So you probably walked on the same
Yeah,
street that
that
they raced
strip
on.
is crazy.
Um,
Crazy
you
that
know,
they race on that, because
yeah.
it's not smooth. Like it looks, it's an
No,
ugly
yeah, it's
public
bumpy, man.
road.
And
Yeah.
there's been so many accidents. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, Carlos Sainz, like he was it's when
Yeah.
he was still with Ferrari, like he was driving down the strip, and one of the manhole covers, because of the
Yeah.
suction power of the floors of these F1 cars, it like sucked it up and it damaged his floor. It was
And
insane.
he got penalized for that, did he not, too? He
I
got
don't
penalized, I
remember.
think, or something. Something
I don't
crazy,
think
but
so. I don't remember.
I remember that manhole cover, and
It was a big thing. It was like
I
all
think
over the news.
when we were there, I think I was like, that's the manhole cover.
You pointed it out. He was like, "That's the
Or
one."
it was like the vicinity, because I think I don't think they covered it up. They maybe
They welded
reinforced
it, but I
it.
don't know
Welded
if
it.
I'm sure they open it back up after F1 is done with Las
Yeah, it
Vegas.
was probably
You
still
can
there,
see
but
it
I was
there.
like, that looks like, I remember pointing it out and then trying to tell my brother on the strip, uh, like at 9 p.m. at night when there's like so many people. I'm like, dude, let me show you this video of
Dude,
Carlos
it's
Sainz.
crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, going on, I mean, those are kind of, you're right. There's little tangents, but those are good to kind of get into because um, kind of talks about like those the iconicness. I don't want to say, I don't even know the word, but the amount of like how iconic that turn one is at Coda. going down the strip, I told you this, I think, on text message. As much as a pain in the butt as it is, I mean, all the locals hate the Vegas Grand Prix. When we were there, I mean, I every single Uber driver we had was like,
They
I
hated
hate
it.
it. This is the worst thing that has happened in Vegas. This is exactly why nothing is affordable in Vegas anymore. They're saying because of that. But at the end of the day, that as as an American, as someone that is very proud to be an American and proud to have, representation, can you name another more like iconic nighttime street circuit than other than like
Man,
flying through Times Square? Like,
I've always
I
wished they would
can't.
do a race in New York City. To me, that would be amazing, man. That would be huge. I just
So it's
the logistics are just impossible.
Oh, New Yorkers
But
would riot. They
yeah,
would
they would
break.
probably riot.
They would
Yes,
go lay down
100%.
in the middle of the track during qualifying.
100%.
So
Yeah, man.
yeah,
There's no
it's
space.
crazy. It's
Yeah, there's like
crazy,
no space.
but I don't know. Maybe maybe
Maybe
they
one
pull it
day.
off sometime, right?
Yeah.
So
Especially like for example, like this I know like this wars that just canceled, a lot of our viewers are gonna see this video there and they probably already know that in April there's no racing. We're gonna have like 4 or 5 week break because the war's going on in the Middle East. So
yeah, yeah,
you're specifically talking about night races. And I know in the States, I mean, yeah, New York would be a very cool option. I'm sure some of the viewers will give us some good recommendations of what they would think.
yeah.
But I'm still a big fan of I think it's Saudi Arabia Jeddah, the Jeddah track
Hmm.
at night. Man, such a
It
fast
looks
track.
it looks
Like I'll get
cool up
on
there.
on my little cheap sim setup I have and get on that track, and it's so fun. It's insane. I love every single turn of that track, and it's fast. And one little wrong move, you're done. You're in the wall. So
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah.
track. I really like it.
Yeah, it's a shame because I was looking forward to them going back to obviously they did the preseason testing in Bahrain, right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I was kind of excited to see them go back and
That's a good track. That's also
see
another
where
good
they
track.
were. Yeah, see where they were after, a few races. Obviously, just going back to seeing like what the what those times were. Kind of an alarm going off. Just going back and seeing what the times were on preseason testing and then comparing them to now actually like qualifying times just to see
Mm-hmm.
how much, we talked
They've
about
improved.
sandbagging, right? And seeing how much Mercedes wasn't actually showing what they were capable of, which is kind of
Yeah.
a weird concept to me. And I don't mean to go on a tangent, because obviously
Oh,
we're out of preseason now, but
yeah.
you would just think that they wouldn't be so sneaky about, what they've got in the bag, just because you would assume that everyone's just trying their best. So why not show everyone your best? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's tactics. There's a reason behind it. It's been happening for
Yeah,
years,
it's all like
right?
mental games, I guess.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I
So
kind of agree with you. It's like if I want to, I don't know if this is a multi-million-dollar setup that we have, that where these cars are millions and millions of dollars, and so much work goes into them. You have people in the factory, and typically the people in the factory, that's the biggest group. Typically, the racing team is
yeah,
like only like I think I don't know 40 to 60 people, but in the factory, that's where they have a tons and tons of engineers just going at it day and night, trying to make the car go faster. From wherever they're based out of. And
yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Who knows why? I
Yeah,
would say just pedal to the metal, man. Just show them what you
yeah,
got. But that's the silly American in me.
yeah. Maybe
Um,
we're not smart enough fans yet, but
no,
maybe in
yeah,
the
we're
future we
not.
will, man.
We're not. Yeah, dude, that's probably it. But yeah, so just kind of going back, I mean, capping off iconic turns, and it's so funny just in one year of being a fan of the sport, how much you're familiarized with some of the more iconic parts of some of these tracks like Eau Rouge in Spa, what is it,
Yeah,
La
good one.
Piscine. I think is it like the chicane in Monaco? Is it like the S?
Yeah.
I don't, dude. Is it the the S's? I don't know what it's called, but there's a chicane where it's like, and the only reason I remember this is because Carlos Sainz like, "What's your favorite part of Monaco?" They asked Charles Leclerc, and he's like, "La piscine." He's like, "I actually grew up and I learned how to swim in that pool." So there's like a swimming pool, I guess,
Yeah,
along
like close by. Yeah.
yeah, along the strip or along the track. But uh yeah, it's interesting. I think
I
that
think piscine is pool in French.
like pool, yeah, piscine like piscina. How do you call
Exactly.
swimming pool? You alberca?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've heard alberca, I've heard piscina, I've heard that. So it's kind
Yeah.
of super
Yeah,
close to the way of saying it.
Evelyn goes back and forth with me about words in
How does
Spanish.
she say it?
Huh?
How does she say it?
Piscina.
Piscina. And
It's
where's she from again? Venezuela?
uh, Ecuador.
Ecuador. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's a little different because my dad's from where you're from Monterrey. So it's like a lot of the like norteño like Spanish is what I'm used to like listening and like learning. So or kind of
No.
as much as
My
I
Spanish
know.
is so bad. That's the only
Uh,
Spanish I have is because of my parents. That's it.
I've got none of it, bro. I've got the only thing that I have is because of Evelyn. So I can
Got it.
speak
Hey.
like a 3-year-old basically. But yeah, but all right. So I think one of the biggest things that I wanted, like curiosities, was like trying to figure out um what so I think the big weird thing for a lot of people to realize with F1 is understanding that some not all manufacturers or not all teams manufacture their own engines, which is kind of a weird concept to a lot of fans. Like if you're telling me like, what do you mean Cadillac? Like they are using a Ferrari engine. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean Haas is, or who is Haas for, to begin with? What do you mean they're using, that? What do you mean McLaren? McLaren has got amazing cars. How come they're using a Mercedes engine? Um, just like sitting there and explaining that concept to some of my friends, it like loses them and they're just like,
I
"What?"
mean, I don't know about you, man, but I lost it too. I was when I first realized that, I was utterly confused. I remember like they still do it. Like if you look at at the end of quali or at the end of a race, they'll always show like the name of the team, McLaren
Yeah.
plus like the name of the engine manufacturer. So it'll be like McLaren Mercedes came in first or second or third, whatever, etc. And
Yeah.
it was just I was like, what the heck? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
When I
McLaren,
was learning about the
Mercedes.
sport, I was like, are these teams like separate but together? Kind of like how Red Bull has they had Toro Rosso, which then became Cash App, Visa Cash App, now Racing Bulls. So
Yeah.
I
Dude,
was I
that
was kind of
concept,
confused in the
that's a
beginning.
good one because that freaking threw me off too.
That's weird.
It's
Yeah,
like
that's very weird.
racing bulls? Who are these?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started watching them, they were still Toro Rosso, I think in 2020, 2021, because that's when I kind of started watching. And they've changed like almost every year. So,
Yeah.
and it's weird. That's another thing we'll probably talk about is why does Red Bull have two teams? I know
Yeah.
there was a team, I forget who was, I think they were going bankrupt, and Red Bull was like, hey, we have money, we'll buy them out. And the
Sure.
FIA allowed them to do that. So that's why they were, they have two teams now. But at the same time, like, should that have been allowed? I've talked to a lot of F1 fans, and a lot of people don't like it. I get it, because it's essentially like Red Bull has two teams. They get these youngsters that get F1 experience in the second team, and then they can move up to the big team.
Yeah.
It's and,
And it's
and I
interesting.
don't know
And
how fair that is.
not until recently did I realize that well, not Toro Rosso, but or I guess now V-Carb Racing
Yeah,
Bulls. Um, Not until recently did I realize that they're actually based in Italy. So they're
yeah,
an
they are.
Italian
They
team.
are a separate
So
team. They are a complete separate team because legally, like, they have to do that.
yeah,
But it's still a sister team. Like that's what everybody calls them. It is a sister
yeah.
team.
Kind of like Williams. I don't, and this is to kind of go down a rabbit hole, and this might kind of maybe confuse some of the viewers, but like Williams. Because I don't think Williams ever had the intention of being like a junior team to Mercedes, but it seemed like for a little while they were a big
I mean,
junior. I mean,
yeah,
that's where
they
George Russell came from,
yeah, exactly.
but
And I think it's because they had a partnership too. So Williams uses a lot of Mercedes engines,
yeah,
the past couple years at least. But I mean, Williams, they used to be top dog, like
I heard there's still
in
like still, I mean,
I don't
apparently
know
it's
how many
still the
championships they
leading.
have. Yeah, they have a ton though.
Yeah,
Ferrari has the most, of course. I know that for sure. I don't know how many off the top of my head, but Ferrari
yeah,
has the most, and I think second and third is like mm, Mercedes, and then McLaren, then Williams. Like they're like Williams is up there. I know they're kind of seen as the underdogs now, but that's quickly going to change. You know, the team got
yeah,
sold. Uh, Frank Williams, I believe, was the name of the actual owner. I think he raced in F1 when he was younger. Then he created his team. Then his daughter took over. But
Claire,
I guess
right? Yeah, and she's the one that
yeah,
comes out in
Claire.
the show a lot.
Yes, 100%. She
Yeah,
was still on the show this past season, as just I guess just an informant, just to talk about it. And I
yeah,
guess I'm sure our viewers will probably have seen Drive to Survive. If you guys haven't, you guys have to check it out. It's you're not going to get all the meat and potatoes I think from F1 through Drive to Survive, but it's a good way to get your feet wet and then move on to just actually watching the races. But yeah, she talks about how she had to let go of the team. They were losing a lot of money and she had to sell it, but she sold it with the intention or with the little, I guess, asterisks at the end saying, hey, you have to keep the name Williams.
mm,
So somebody bought the team, but they had to keep the name. So that's why
yeah.
we still have Williams. But
Atlassian.
yeah,
I don't even know what
yeah,
Atlassian is.
Atlassian. They haven't had like a name, like a big brand sponsor in a long time. So they're getting more money, man, and that's going to help them get faster. Sadly, they took a wrong turn this year already. It seems the first couple races. Last year they were moving up, but
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a
These
heavy
new regs,
car from what I
it's
heard.
crazy. Yeah, apparently it's super heavy. They didn't do too well during like testing and all that. Hmm.
Yeah.
Another team that's going
Um,
crazy is Aston Martin, man. That's crazy with Honda.
oh, dude,
They're shaking engine.
don't get me started because I'll get into it.
It's crazy
But
stuff that's going.
yeah, yeah. So Williams obviously kind of that feeder team. It's kind of weird now because they seem like they're their own, they're their own kid on the block, right? They're their own team now, whereas you won't probably expect a move from Carlos Sainz to Ferrari to Mercedes. I don't think that's something that would happen, like as if it's this upgrade. Um,
No,
let's
yeah,
see
not as a
Alex
feeder
Albon
team. It
going
would just
to,
be like a regular, like he would get offered more money.
yeah,
That's all it would
yeah.
be.
Interesting, interesting. But yeah, more to come on those types of conversations. Obviously, we've had our conversation with Haas being maybe this
Ferrari.
team for Ferrari,
Yeah.
um, which is kind of why I mean I've kind of jumped on the Ollie Behrman train. I wanted to show you my hat.
And he's a great driver.
So,
He's a great
dude,
driver.
so that's the one with the whole like Japanese style theme to it. Unfortunate what happened to him. We'll get into that obviously a little bit later. Um but interesting that yeah, you put it in that perspective that, Ali probably is going to be that number two, probably legit number two driver for a bit. And after Lewis kind of heads out, if he kind of proves
Yeah.
himself, in these next few years, can't be crashing out like he did yesterday. But
Yeah. I'm
uh,
sure he wants to drive for Ferrari, but you never know, man. It's all F1's kind of a money game, and whoever offers him more money, he'll go with whatever team.
yeah,
But
and I think that's where
when
I'm liking that. This is where I'm kind of making my sort of similarity. It's like the connection between like my favorite fighters in UFC, which I've been a UFC fan for almost 10 years now at this point.
nice,
And it's like sad to see a lot of those fighters that I started following now retiring and now kind of leaving the sport. And it's like, oh my gosh, I've never known the sport without some of those guys. But
yeah,
excited for Ollie's career. I know that obviously he's a beast, and I know that um, you know, hope that Haas gets into a point to where maybe they'll be in contention for something at some point, but probably not. And that's just the way of the
yeah,
sport. But
yeah,
you never know, right? So,
yeah. No,
but that's Vegas odds are against us there. All right, so we talked about that. So we have 11 teams on the grid. Starting from the top, we have McLaren. McLaren is doing a Mercedes engine, right? The Mercedes power unit. I think the way that someone described it to me was it's like they build the engine for them and the power unit for them, but just don't give them the user manual. And they say, you
Yeah,
guys figure it out.
that's what
And
I've heard too. So
that's how it is. So McLaren's got that. Mercedes has got obviously a Mercedes engine. And you got Red Bull, which was previously Honda during their major success years. Now Ford has they weren't just gonna watch Cadillac come into the sport and say, you know what? Let's let you guys take the show and take some of the glory. Ford had to come in and say, we're gonna come back, right? Because this was originally they originally were in the sport of Formula One, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah, no, they've been in Formula One. Obviously I can't go back and tell you exactly what years, but they've been in there for a couple times, and then they've exited, and then I think they've joined, and then they've exited. But yeah, but as far as I know, when it comes to Ford and Red Bull, it's more of a partnership. I don't think it's exactly just Ford is producing the engine; it's actual Red Bull engines. Like Red Bull is creating the engines with the help of Ford. And so they are in partnerships. There's lots of Ford engineers helping Red Bull engineers create, Red Bull's engine that they're gonna be building. And who knows, man? Like Red Bull does have the RB17. I don't know if you ever saw that car. It's
Yeah,
like
I've seen it.
it's
Like
like
a
a track car.
hypercar, right?
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
hyper car track car that Adrian Newey
Hmm.
created essentially from the ground up as his last farewell to Red Bull and the company. And hey, we might get some Red Bull branded cars in the future, maybe 15, 20, 30 years down the line. If they make good engines, we might end up seeing
Yeah.
Red Bull
A,
cars. Like,
a
there's
national
Ford cars, there's Chevy
manufacturer.
cars, there's a Red Bull car. Could you imagine that? That'd be pretty insane.
That, yeah, would be really sick. And I think that for a lot of people, just seeing what Red Bull is, obviously they have a soccer team in New York, but Red Bull
Yeah, they have a bunch of
is,
soccer teams all over the
yeah.
world.
Oh, do they
Like
all over the world?
four or five.
I thought it was like the New York Red Bulls, or I don't even know what they are from the MLS, but yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it's yeah.
not just a drink brand, right? It's kind of
No,
crazy to think.
it's like a market. They're basically a energy drink slash marketing company. That's really
Yeah.
what they are,
Um,
and they're not
cool,
healthy for
buddy.
you.
Oh, not
The,
how I
the
had one.
drivers,
I had one this morning at church, brother. Of course.
I mean, it's delicious. I like them. I like all the different
Oh,
flavors Red Bulls
great,
have. But
great.
when I don't think Max Verstappen is drinking a Red Bull after quali. You always see him with the Red Bull
With a
cans and
Red
stuff
Bull
like that.
can, I'm like, is he
But
actually drinking? It's probably water, right?
nah, it's water. Yeah, it's a Red Bull can, but they put water in it. There's no way because
I was
he
thinking
does do
that
that,
so
and
many
he's got
times.
kidneys that are like he's
He's
gonna
an
go
extreme
out,
sportsman,
man.
brother. So Red Bull, who else is on the grid? You've got Aston Martin this year, which they are doing Honda engines, and that's the biggest disaster
Yeah, man, it's
of the
crazy.
last probably decade that I can tell just based on looking at Drive to Survive and kind of using my context clues.
Yeah,
What a crazy, crazy world that is. I think talking about Japan, I think we're gonna wrap this up in a bit, but we'll talk about Japan and then I'll talk about just the disaster that is Aston Martin right now. Um, who else we got? Cadillac, they are donning a Ferrari engine. We've got Haas, my favorite team, are donning a Ferrari engine. And you've got, who else am I missing? Alpine, which is formerly Renault. They were making their own engines last year, and for all time now they're donning Mercedes hardware. Um, and then you've got Williams, which is Mercedes engine.
hmm,
And who else am I missing? I feel like I'm gonna Audi. This is cool. Audi said we're gonna join the sport and we're gonna make our own power unit, which is really cool to see if how well they perform if somebody wants to
yeah,
buy from them. It would be
very
really
true.
interesting to see. Um,
Yeah, teams might make the switch
yeah, and I think
between
that's it.
seasons.
Did I get
Yeah,
all? Did I get
I
all
think so.
11? I feel like
I
someone's
think
gonna be triggered.
it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, so all 11 there. All right. So obviously, the Drive to Survive, biggest recommendation that we can give to anyone that's getting into the sport. That's something that I think is important. I had a friend of mine that was pretty big into Formula One or is pretty big into Formula One, and he said that he's like, it's crazy how not entertaining that show becomes once you're actually a fan of the sport.
100%. That's what I
And you
always
know
tell
what's
people.
crazy is that you told me that, and he
Mm.
told me that. And when he told me that like last year, I was like, bro, you're crazy. And it's crazy to think like, especially the eighth season for this Drive to Survive, it has been so not entertaining, not in like a negative way, but like
Yeah.
in a comparison to the actual season, I'm
Yeah,
like,
they
man,
can't show everything.
they can't show everything and they missed so
So
much.
much.
And whenever they got to like some of the races that I mean I remember vividly and just missing some of the craziest key points. Like I don't even think I don't know, maybe correct me if I'm wrong if you've seen the entire season. I don't think they showed Max like um cutting off George in Spain. Was it in Barcelona where Max like collided and cut off George when George was
Oh, yes. Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
like that probably was the biggest thing of the season because that ended up costing him the championship at the end. And like
I
they didn't
always say
show
it
that.
was. I love Kimi Antonelli. He just won his second race in a row.
Hmm.
But if Kimi wouldn't have ran into him, I think it was at the Red Bull Ring in Austria.
Yeah, yeah, it was in
Yeah,
Austria
won his two
because
points.
dude,
It's
crazy,
insane.
crazy. Just
And I remember seeing Kimmy like super like being so sorry, asking for forgiveness. And Max, man, he's such a good guy. I don't understand why people don't like him. I know he can be a little rough around the edges, and he's straight to the point. But
yeah,
he's a really nice guy. He takes care of the rookies, or at least that's how it seems. So
it certainly does, and I think that that's certainly one of those moments where it can be a factor in the whole big picture. So every point, literally every point counts. It's like
yeah.
the saying in football. Any given Sunday, it's a game of inches. Like it is a game of inches. So literally every point counts. Um, so obviously, just kind of touching on that, obviously, the higher you place, the more points you get, starting at
Hmm.
25 for the winner, and then you go down until 10th place is 1 point, and 11th place is no point. So obviously, you want to start you want to obviously hit the top 10 to at least score some points.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good on time. There's so much to talk about, man. But
Oh yeah, man.
moving
We're gonna
on
have to talk.
to Japan 2026. Um, I am actually sporting. I went to HEB this morning and I was like, you know what? Let me get a Japanese beer. So I got Kirin Ichiban. Pretty good.
Very dope.
I've
Yeah,
had it before, and it's a pretty good beer. But yeah, just in honor of the Japanese Grand Prix, I think
I love it.
I always watch people like walking around the paddock. There's this one, not paddock, but walking around like the grounds of the thing, and he's like, you may have seen him before. It's an older Australian guy, and he's like, "What do you expect to pay for a beer here in Japan? And what do you expect to pay for a meal here in Japan? What do you expect to pay for merch here in Japan or in China?" And he kind of gives like the pricing comparison.
Mhm.
So I'm like, those are kind of made me think I think he showed a beer or something. But anyway, so Japan 2026, obviously we kind of talked about it this morning. Kind of Suzuka, the what is it, 40 years of hosting the Japanese Grand Prix, and I
Yeah,
think the 36th time that it had been hosted in
at
Suzuka
Suzuka.
with at Suzuka with interestingly enough, this is where they used to crown their champions back in the day.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point. You brought that up. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So pretty good. I wanted to ask you about Suzuka because I know that every time there's a driver interview, you always see them talk about their favorite tracks, and it always seems to be Suzuka. So on your
Yeah, I mean,
sim, why? Tell me why is Suzuka fun? Why is it fun to drive on the sim?
I mean, absolutely, 100%. It is one of my favorite tracks that I'll be get on the sim on. I mean, it's got a mixture of, I think, since again I'm still learning, but from what I've the knowledge that I've gained, I think it's got a mixture of like slow, mid, and fast corners. Um, like I think 130R is the last one of the second to last corner, where they they used to have to break, like that used to be a corner, but now they can take that flat out because of the advancements of Formula One cars nowadays and how they just get sucked onto the floor. So and obviously the overpass, like it's the only like F1 track that goes on top of the track. Like there's like a
Yeah,
bridge that goes over it, and so they go under it, and then you have F1 cars going above you as well.
above you.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. I think that's another cool, cool factor that they have. Um, but yeah, I just think it's a mixture of everything you want on a track. It's got to make sure again slow, mid, and fast corners. Um, Track can be a little tight, but you can still make a lot of moves, as we saw yesterday. There's lots of moves were made, and yeah, I think that's really what it is. And I think a lot if you look at all the like all the guys the drivers talk about when they go to Japan, the fans apparently that's a big one. Like the fans in Japan, props to them. It seems like they really take care of the drivers. They make them feel at home. I
Yeah.
mean, I've always wanted to go to Japan, and my dream is to go to the Japan Grand Prix
Yeah.
because you know the flowers are blooming. What are the flowers called there?
The cherry blossoms.
Yeah, the cherry blossoms. You said you bought that hat from Haas, and they have all
Yeah.
the cherry blossoms on the hat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like the peak time to go. It's like in Japan it snows, but I think at that time like it kind of has already stopped snowing. It's
Mhm.
warming up a little bit, and then you get the Grand Prix, and man, that's like my absolute dream. So you never
Yeah.
know. We might get to go. We might get to talk
Dude,
about this
yeah.
video and be like, hey, we're
Yeah.
here. But
Might be more
that's
affordable
definitely
to go
cool.
there than to go to Vegas, to be honest.
Honestly, yeah, man. But I will say
Uh,
Japan flights are for sure expensive.
yeah, that's getting over there would probably be the hardest thing for sure.
Like a thousand
Um,
minimum a thousand
Yeah,
dollars.
dude, it's crazy. I've looked at, I mean, I fly all the time for work, but like the airfare just to get overseas is just crazy. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
I thought my flight from here to Houston was expensive or whatever. Let's double
Right.
hop over. Now it's not, but um I think the big moment with the uh Grand Prix for this weekend was obviously the safety car. I think that the biggest thing, I mean, we talked about it this
100%.
morning was the timing of the safety car. Can you explain basically, I think let's break down what happened. What is a safety car? Why do we have safety cars? And why is it a quote unquote cheaper pit stop?
Yeah. So in regards to what a safety car is, I mean, it's essentially if something, it could happen for a multitude of reasons. The most popular being a crash. One of the guys crash, or another reason why there could be a safety car is because there is debris out on the track because maybe two guys were rubbing and part of a wing, fell off and it's in the middle of the track. They'll call a safety car for that sometimes, or sometimes a virtual safety car. And we'll get into that. So a virtual safety car is they just basically slow down to a set speed, and that will give the marshals that are at whatever track they're racing at enough time to go and retrieve said trash that's on the track.
Yeah.
Um,
Like if
when you
they
move
touch
up to
tires, right, or something.
yeah, or there's stuff on the
Debris.
floor, like yeah, just debris. That'll be typically why you get a virtual safety car, or maybe a car is going really slow. Sometimes they'll put the virtual safety car just to warn other cars to slow down. Um, the full safety car is typically more like if you see a full crash happening. Um, it can kind of go both ways. Some crashes go all the way to a red flag, um, if it's like a really bad crash. So yesterday we saw Behrman. He got into a wreck, and it was just the safety car. They had to go a couple laps around the track to give the marshals enough time to clean up the wreckage. I
And
think
the
though, if
race doesn't technically stop.
no, yeah, they keep
The
going
laps will
because
keep
they
going.
can't gas up. So they
Mhm.
just have to keep going, because it's also not that bad. It wasn't that bad of a wreck. Now, if Behrman would have crashed with somebody else and they were like in the middle of the road, like of the actual track, then that would be a red flag because they would have to completely stop. They couldn't keep going around since they're in the middle of the track. So the cars would come into the pits. Guys can get out of their seats. They can actually get a free tire change. They can change their tires, and then
Mhm.
just wait for the race to restart. But yeah, it's just a safety car is literally just an accident happens. They need to clean something up. The safety car will pull out. Everybody kind of slows down, and because everybody slows down, that's why you asked earlier as to why it's a cheaper pit stop. Everybody's slowing down, so since everyone's slowing down, you can go into the pits, and the pit stop is still taking you the same amount of time, which in F1, I mean, we're looking between 19 to 23 seconds is like the average. It depends on the track, but typically 19 to 23 seconds, I would say is like the average. But because the people behind you are going significantly slower, they're not going full speed, that saves you a ton of time.
Mhm.
So that's why when there is a safety car, or sometimes even just a virtual safety car, it's a good idea to go ahead and pit, change your tires, and you're done. Like, man, that safety car messed up the race for Piastri and George, because they were pretty much going to be fighting up for the lead. So
Yeah,
so yeah,
just yeah, and just the craziness that unfolded, that, obviously the start with the Mercedes just not getting jumping well off the line, which is kind of interesting to see that happen throughout the first three races of the year.
yeah,
But the fact that Antonelli dropped from first to sixth was kind of crazy to me. And I was like, that's where I was like, obviously, kind of being in central time and watching the race, it's a long day, you're kind of tired. So
yeah,
obviously, me rooting for Kimmy, and then he drops to sixth. I watched the first 20 laps of the race, and I'm like, man, he lost it. There's no
yeah.
way. And I see George jump up, obviously be in
Mhm.
second place after losing three or four places himself. And he's jumping up. He's able to get through that traffic. So that's when I kind of I knocked out, and I was like, this is fine. I'll like watch I'll rewatch the recording later. But then when I woke up lap 33, Kimmy's in first, and I'm just like, what happened, man? And that's when I
Yeah,
saw, and I rewatched it this morning, and I saw that safety car. I mean, what, it came out on the lap 31, and I think George pitted
yeah,
30 or something like that.
yeah. It
It
was
was
like
something
literally he
crazy,
got
dude.
out of the pit lane, and like as soon as he got out of the pit lane, boom, safety car. It was the worst
Crazy.
timing for him. I feel bad for him. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a huge fan of George Russell, but yeah, that was a crappy day for him
Yeah, it was
because he's
crappy.
gotten unlucky
Yeah.
for the past two races.
Yeah, and I saw Kimmy in first and Behrman out, and then that was like, all right, I'm going to sleep. Like, I was
Yeah,
just like, I'm so sad. Because he was jumping up. Ollie got off the line too. Um, so that was cool to see, obviously, that then him jump up from 18th, and I think he was in 14th at some point. So pretty close.
mhm,
But yeah, kind of crazy to see that. I never realized that, the cheap pit stop, they're just going slower. They're,
yeah,
obviously getting less far away from you. If you
exactly.
think about, they're not getting as far away from you because
They're
they're
not
not
getting
going as
close. They're not
fast.
getting close to you. Yeah,
Yeah, so cheaper pit stop. I never understood the way that they said it on the broadcast was like, you're technically only losing this amount of time versus this amount of time. So that was something that I was always like, interesting. But
yeah.
yeah, that kind of puts it out there for me, and kind of helps me better understand that.
Mhm.
Cool. So I think a few more parts here. We're already coming up on an hour, and obviously I want to keep the hour going, unless you want to go a little over, because we do have a few more things that I kind of want to talk
It's up to
about.
you, man. I might have to turn on
Um,
these lights in here. It's getting dark. I was
yeah,
just in the daylight outside, but
no,
I might
dude,
have to turn on
I had the
my
window
office
open
lights.
and it's out. Yeah, let's run through these, and I want to get your take on some of these ones. We already talked about Max, and obviously being a little bit frustrated with the current
Absolutely.
regulations. I think the biggest hot topic is, uh, would he be saying this if he were dominating?
Oh
And the
man. Well, that's
biggest the biggest
big
comparison I
question.
have is, look how pissed off Lewis was last year. He was miserable,
Yeah, of
you know.
course. I mean, losing is always gonna, piss people off. I mean, I think even when Max was like dominating, he would still like say like, "Hey, I'm not a big fan of this," yada yada yada. But of course, when you're winning, you, just your brain, you're not going to be thinking about all the negative stuff. Typically, you're like, "Hey, I won. Like I'm good. I'm racking up all these points. I'm winning championships. So I understand he's frustrated, and I'm not gonna lie. It seems like almost all the guys down at the bottom are kind of upset with the regulations. Like specifically, Alonso has also said that he does not like the regulations, but he
Called
also
it
has
the
he's got the crappiest car this year. Like
battery
they haven't
management
done anything.
championship. Yeah.
Yeah, he called it a battery management championship exactly. And Max was comparing this to like Formula E on steroids, or like
Mhm.
he said, some guy said, "Hey, how are you practicing? How are you getting ready for the race?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I played Mario Kart yesterday.
Yeah.
Trying to get ready and practice for my strategy." So that was hilarious for him to say that.
Which is
But
what
but
I've been
yeah,
telling
I'm
my
sure if he was,
brother. I've been telling my brother, hey, they said it's more like Mario Kart. Maybe you get into the sport.
maybe you'll like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. Like I try not to take everything these guys say as like I guess like
Fact.
law, or it's 100%, because Formula One is it's here to make money, and I think what Liberty Media, I think, is the owners. They're the ones who bought Formula One
Hmm.
here in the states. Like they're just trying to find a way to make it have more money, and and I'm sure part of that is they're going to realize that a lot of the fans aren't liking it, and they'll probably change a couple things. They also see that drivers aren't liking it. A couple drivers aren't. We'll see. We also know that they had decided, the FIA already kind of chose and decided that they're going to look into the regulations after Japan, which just happened. So now they get these next 4 or 5 weeks to take a look at the regulations, see if anything has to change, depending on how these first three races went. And I
Yeah.
think they went well, but when you have so many cars like not even starting, or DNFing. Like it sucks. Nobody wants to see that in this sport. Like these teams are paying so much money. The fans, dude, the fans are paying so much money. These tickets are insane. That's one thing I don't like about F1, is how it's not accessible to everybody. It's just so expensive. I love it. One thing is funny that I'm a big fan of the sport, and I've been a fan a little bit longer than you have, and I haven't been to a race, but you have, and you've been in this into the sport less than I have.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to, you don't have to share how much you paid, but these tickets are like minimum like a couple $100, like for
Well,
grounds
yeah.
passes, no
Well,
seats, like
yeah, and
it's
that's
like
what I
$100.
told, I told my wife. I said, "Hey, if we're considering going, again in October, maybe we should start figuring out, putting pennies aside for that now because,
Yeah,
you know, it was all, it was definitely a big credit card purchase. I will say that it
man.
wasn't just like dropping, the dough on it, and it was more of like an overtime type of thing. And you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, unfortunately, that's the only way that someone like us can make it happen. We don't have buku bucks to be doing those things. I will say that the rebuttal to that is going to like a Spurs game. That's not cheap either,
That's
you
very true.
know.
Like minimum is like 100, $150, even
Yeah,
for
I
like
mean,
those
yeah, sometimes
nosebleeds.
even nosebleeds are
Yeah.
40, 50, $60, and
I
you
mean,
pay the ticket master
and
taxes and all that stuff, and it's just stupid.
and we don't know who
So,
our the viewers are, so they might not know who the Spurs are, but they are the basketball team here in San Antonio,
yeah,
Texas.
yeah.
And and,
NBA,
and I think the tickets have gone up just because of Wemby. That's a big
because
thing.
they're
They're
winning,
winning.
baby. Yeah.
After the big
Uh,
three, people are gonna be at me in the comments, but I am not a Spurs fan. I'm actually a Houston Rockets fan.
oh,
I know,
shoot.
yeah.
Dude, we
I don't
gotta
know
talk
what.
about that. We got a little problem.
Yeah, man.
We might end this podcast now. This is
Yeah, we might have to start
it.
another. We might have to start an
Uh,
NBA podcast. No, I'm just kidding. But
but yeah,
yeah,
I mean it's just entertainment in the States
yeah,
is stuff
exactly.
like that. I think
That's
even talking
entertainment is king
about
here. That's all it is.
concerts, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Concerts are really dumb. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that, it is, but that goes to why, that's the culture. And I think this is, I mean, obviously not saying that this is only an American thing, but Americans are willing to do that, unfortunately,
yeah.
in some sort of way. But um going back to Red Bull and obviously Max kind of wanting to be, playing this game of maybe I'm done and I'm retiring. Um, Kind of looks like Red Bull is maybe, I don't want to say officially a midfield team, but now they are looking like a midfield team.
They're
Max
definitely looking at it.
spent 40 some out laps, I think, behind Gasly. I think he jumped like the first initial like three or four spaces up or places up, and then just hung out behind Gasly for almost the entire race, which is great to see how good Alpine is doing compared to what they were like last year. So obviously they're finding some success. I wanted to ask you though, I'm wondering if this is maybe something that is relating, like it's very reminiscent of I think the very first season of Drive to Survive. I kind of that's my comparison, but if you remember there was this like heated rivalry between Renault and Red Bull at the time. And it didn't really matter what the rivalry between Renault and Red Bull was like because Mercedes is just murdering everyone, dude. And this is around the time that they were going on their seven, what, titles in a row run. So it's just kind of funny that I'm like, I'm wondering if they're back to this battle because if you look at that was back in the 2015, 2016 dominance of Mercedes era.
Yeah.
And I think the regs just had restarted in what, 14? So I'm
Yeah.
like, are we seeing history repeat itself with these regs like happening?
Yeah, man. It's who knows, man. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, he just came out of nowhere with the Mercedes. Mercedes nailed the regs and they just started winning time after time
Yeah.
after time. But we'll see what happens. Red Bull got it right for they had a little dynasty going for the past 4 years. Then McLaren took over. Lando Norris won. But yeah, it's crazy. That's what I love about Formula One though. Like we don't know what's gonna happen this year, next year. We don't. I'm gonna be honest. We don't know what's gonna happen in 5 weeks. We don't know who's gonna
Yeah.
bring what upgrades. We don't know what the regulations if they do end up changing or not. If the FIA does anything about them, we really won't know. We don't know. We'll have to wait. I'm excited to see how this regs do change or don't change and how the teams manage to overcome this. At the same time, F1 is all about innovation. So they're going to
Mhm.
try and do their best to follow these regs and do their best and win. But yeah, that's what I love about F1, man. I think, especially with these new regulations, a lot of different teams, the balance of power can shift dramatically. So
Yeah.
it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
That's what makes it fun. Um,
Yeah.
you've kind of talked that you're a big, you're kind of a Haas fan and Ferrari fan. I'm a big Red Bull fan. The way I become a Red Bull fan is just because I grew up playing Gran Turismo and the Red Bull car, like it would be one of the fastest cars in the game, and that's how I became a Red Bull fan. So
Yeah.
whenever I got into Formula One, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna become a Red Bull fan. I always liked that car in Gran Turismo, or no, it
Hmm.
wasn't Gran Turismo. It was actually Forza. I started out on Forza,
Forza.
and it was on Forza on Xbox. But now I'm a PlayStation guy, um, and I'll play Gran Turismo every once in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see, man. I'm excited. That's just
Ah,
the biggest thing.
I'm
Just
excited.
talking about
Yeah.
F1 excites me. Just talks. It's great. It's great to be able to talk to do this
Yeah.
little podcast and get to learn from each other. Like you're gonna learn from me, I'm
Yeah.
gonna learn from you, and we'll get to learn from people in the comments.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think we'll maybe wrap it up with I know that I wanted to circle back to Aston Martin and their struggles. Obviously, you've got Lawrence Stroll, the what is it, CEO and owner, I guess, of the
Yeah, yeah,
team, just dumping all this money into it. I think somebody kind of said that as soon as Red Bull announced that they were gonna, I guess, part ways with Honda's Formula One division. Apparently, Honda didn't have the intention of going back and staying with the sport for a little while,
yeah.
which apparently that means that they kind of gutted financing towards that division or department. And
Got it.
it was a bit of a delay until Aston Martin renegotiated them to
Mm,
be making their, power unit or whatever, what have you, or their partnership. So it's kind of interesting because obviously if you have a delay of like 6 months or whatever, I got to look at the timeline, but that's going to be very troublesome. You're not going to have the same people that are going to go back working on the same project. You're not going to start, you're not going to pick up where you left off. It's just not that simple. Um, so it's scary to see some of like those onboard cameras or the onboards of Stroll and Alonso Bro, did you see that one in like was it China or was it in Australia that um Alonso is not even able to like hold the wheel, like hold the steering wheel like while he's
Yeah.
driving. He's literally just like, and I'm like, that is crazy. And the whole permanent nerve damage thing. What is going on? What do you think that is? Is that Honda's
Apparently,
fault?
well, they're saying, yeah, apparently they're saying it's from the engine. Like it's like shaking. It's
Hmm.
creating some uncontrollable shake that's shaking up the whole car. I guess. I guess that's what's going on. I haven't looked too deep into it. I just know it's Honda is dropping the ball apparently, or that's what they're painting it as. We don't know. I'm not, we're not there. But I mean, every single interview, it seems like they're all blaming Honda. So I mean, it sucks. It sucks for Honda because they just came off of this big high with Red Bull,
Yeah.
so they've won so much,
It's
and
crazy. And I was just
yeah,
like, I
and
don't know
now
how much that can be an actual factor, right? So it looks
yeah,
like a scapegoat. To me it looks like a scapegoat. I'm all skeptical of all these things, but
yeah. I mean, we'll never know the truth. I guess we'd have to be there and honestly, would we
no,
even understand, all the talk of the engineers and what they have to say? Who knows?
it's
Probably not.
true.
So,
True. True.
but yeah, we'll see. I'm actually still excited to see what's going to happen to Aston Martin and
Yeah.
the Strolls, both
Yeah.
father and
That's
son. I wonder what's going to happen, or
father son
like,
duo.
are they just going to throw so much money at it that they're going to go bankrupt? They're going to have to sell the team, because in other Drive to Survive seasons, you see teams just going bankrupt and having to sell off, and then a new team comes in and takes over. Um, I mean, that's what Aston Martin did. So it's
Yeah.
it's you never know. You never know in the world of F1. You don't know what can happen because
Yeah.
they've been throwing money and money and money to this team. And uh, Mr. Stroll, what's his name again? Lawrence. Yeah, Lawrence, and his
Lawrence.
son is Lance. So Lawrence, I mean, he he's a big time business guy. Like he needs to make money. I don't think he's just want to be wasting millions and
Oh.
millions of dollars on not winning and being last place. That's pretty bad. It's insane that Cadillac is doing better than them right now. That's insane.
Oof, that is insane. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. That's another topic for another time, just kind of figuring
Mhm.
out what is Cadillac doing and what is their mission right now. I think that's something that I do want to touch on. Obviously, it's going to take a long time. I don't want to not give that discussion any justice. All right, so we're looking ahead. Miami Grand Prix, obviously the pretty big break right now. It kind of seems
Yeah,
like it's a mini summer break, right?
yeah.
Almost the same amount of time, I would assume. So that's kind of good. Give the manufacturers and give all the teams like time to figure out some plans. I'm excited to see what Miami has in store. What are your power rankings for Miami, Isaac? Let's go, brother. Who are you putting on the podium?
On the podium of
Which
Miami.
drivers? Yeah.
Well, so much is going to be changing in the next 5 weeks. It's almost like throwing a dart on the board with my eyes closed. It can go really any way. Obviously, Mercedes. I mean, they're clearly doing the best. They're in the lead right now, so I'm gonna have to put them up there. I would have to say I love Kimmy. I think he's super talented, but he's still very inexperienced. I'm not gonna lie. I do think he won the race fair and square. A lot of people have won races through safety cars, and that's racing. It is what it is. But I think he got really lucky yesterday in Japan. So I I don't see him being up in first place again in Miami for sure. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say I'm gonna have him in third,
Okay.
and I think I'm gonna have to say George is gonna end up winning. I don't know why I feel it. He's gonna come with some fire because he's
It's
an
pissed.
19-year-old is beating him. He's gonna be pissed. He's gonna try and focus harder. He's gonna Mercedes is gonna want to go back to the drawing board and get even faster because some teams were they were catching up to them. McLaren was good. Piastri was doing really good today, and the Ferraris they're a rocket ship at the start. So and they can keep up. So I'm gonna say George Russell first, Antonelli third, and I think I might end up putting. I'm gonna go with Piastri. I was thinking of Charles or Lewis, but I think I'm gonna go with Piastri. I think he's got a lot to prove this year, just because he lost out on the championship last year, and McLaren showed some good signs today or
Yeah.
yesterday. Sorry, in the race they showed some good stuff. Norris really couldn't do much, but But yeah, I think Piastri's gonna do something. You know, he's on fire. He's ready to go. You know, he didn't start the first two races, so he's gonna give it all he's got. So again, George, my number one, Piastri, my number two, Kimi, my number three. But again, there's 4 or 5 weeks of teams. They're gonna be able to upgrade a lot of things. They're gonna be able to keep doing a lot of work. So who knows what's gonna happen? But that's gonna be
Yeah.
my guess right now.
Yeah. I am gonna go a little hot take, man. I am going to go um because Kimmy got pole position on the sprint last year, did he not? Because Miami is a sprint weekend, if I'm not
I remember.
mistaken. Yeah, sprint weekend.
Oh
So
yeah,
Saturday we do have a sprint in I think Kimmy was on pole position last year. So
I
that's
didn't
where
remember
I'm gonna go Kimmy probably getting pole. Not saying that Kimi's gonna win, but he will be on the podium. I'll put him at second, and
that.
I'll
Okay,
put him splitting the McLarens. I will say Oscar first, Lando
really?
third. Lando's had some success. Obviously in Miami, that was his maiden victory a few
Maiden one,
years
yeah.
ago.
Uh-huh.
So with the pace that he showed, Oscar, I mean, with the pace that Oscar showed, I think the McLarens have some pace. So that is
Yeah.
my hot take. That is more hopeful because I don't want to see George on the podium again. That was nice to see. I'm just checking. I'm not a George Russell hater. He's cool, but
Yeah,
I just think that he is a Red Bull hater for sure. Uh,
yeah,
so
yeah. You never know. You never know. There might be some team switching. You never know.
yeah.
I could see George Russell in a Red Bull uniform.
Wow, that'd be interesting,
Would I
bro.
want
You
that?
never
Probably not. But
never thought you'd see Lewis in a Ferrari, right? So,
exactly,
um,
exactly.
I think that the MVP of the weekend, this is something that I'm going to say. MVP of the weekend, I'm going to say Pierre, man. Pierre Gasly
Really?
has looked fast, man. And I think that it's
Yeah,
really cool to see him be able to keep up with the pace of the front half of the train of cars versus being in the back half. Because in the
yeah.
first two races of the year, it was like, obviously the top three, top two technically, because there's always just been Mercedes and Ferrari for the first few weekends, and then there was like a 17-second gap, and it was either Haas or Alpine right behind.
Mm.
So
And you're
I
saying
think
for the just for this week, like as in this race week, or
for this last
for
race
the
race
first
week,
three
yeah.
weeks?
No, this last for Japan.
Okay.
I think
For just a,
he's performed well. Who would you say outside of the obvious podium winners and outside of the people that obviously did perform well, who would you say would you call pretty big
I
MVP of
mean,
Japan?
God, man, that's tough for Japan, man. I would have to say, I know I said Kimmy is, he got lucky with this win, but he was at the right place at the right time, and that to me that still takes skill. You gotta have luck as a driver. He's doing good. So I would say Kimmy, man. He's 19
Still,
years old. He won his
mhm,
second race,
it's
and
true.
you know, in a second race in a row, he won.
Yeah,
So that's just crazy to me, man. He's 19 years old, and he's the youngest driver to ever be in the lead of the world championship. So
yeah,
I'm gonna have to give it to him.
yeah,
I just can't seem to give it to anybody else. If you would have asked me MVP for the first these three races that we've gotten so far, 100% Ollie Behrman, man. Like he's killing it for Haas. Like,
shout out.
dude, like he's like in fourth or fifth place. Like it's
Yeah,
insane.
I would have
This
been
kid is.
interested to see the McLaren start in China just to see where Ollie would have ended up and
That's true. That's true.
how much he would
But
have been able to
again,
battle
racing is
them.
racing, and
So
and so far these first 3 weeks, I think he's like the guy to look out for, the guy to watch. Haas is doing some good stuff. They do have the Ferrari engine, and that Ferrari engine is picking up. Especially at the beginnings of the race, like that thing goes. So
yeah,
who
yeah.
knows what they'll do better in a couple weeks.
Well said. All right, man. Well, we'll cap it off there. Obviously, I want to keep going. I think this could be a 5-hour podcast.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
I will say that we are going to start a running theme here openly to our audience and say that this is the F1 podcast for American sports fans. So I will start,
But
I will sign off with that saying, I will now open every podcast that we have saying the Formation Lap is the Formula One podcast for American sports fans. Hopefully we
agreed.
get some of those beer belly NASCAR dads over and show them some stuff. But
Now
no, I
I think
appreciate
this is
it.
good, man. This is good.
Appreciate it,
I'm
man.
excited.
I'll try to clip some of these things, obviously, and then we'll get together and then we'll be on the next one ahead, hopefully ahead of Miami. Talk shop about Miami and all things to come. But yeah, thanks for doing this. I'm excited to see where we go, and we'll talk more. There's so much more to talk about, man. I have so much more on my list. So
100%. We'll do it, man. We'll
yeah,
get it done.
yeah. Thank you, viewers. We'll see you soon. Have a good one.
Bye bye.